So let's have a little talk about freedom. You know, that word is getting thrown around quite a bit nowadays. And I'll tell you why that bothers me and why it should bother you. You see, when words get thrown out there, the meaning starts to diminish. And as a free society, the last thing that we want is the word freedom to diminish at all. Freedom comes at an extremely high cost. Extremely high. If you go through the history of the United States of America, no matter what point of view you look at, there has been a huge cost. And when I say cost, first, instead of trying to get along with the natives that were here, the settlers kept pushing west. There was horrible, horrible atrocities that happened once the white man started pushing towards the west. Instead of embracing them, they decided to kill them. And it goes both ways. There was some native tribes that viewed anybody as the enemy, and they killed first, asked questions later. This violence was on both sides. Now, were there some tribes that were trying to get along? I believe so. The history books say so. Could the United States government done a better job of this? I'm sure. But your eyesight is always 20/20 when you look back, because you can see what happens. And once all the cards are laid out, it's easy to have a royal flush when you're looking back, and you can pick through the deck. Do I think it got done the best that it could be? Absolutely not. There's always room for improvement. Given the time, putting in the human factor, that's the way it went. One of the biggest problems I see with humans is we fear what we don't know. So we instantly want to control it, kill it, or get rid of it. And that is a very dangerous thought process, and it still carries on to this day. Now, with the internet and social media platforms, you have what they call a cancel culture. Isn't that a new version of what American settlers or the government did to natives in the early beginnings of this country? They canceled them by killing them. Everything comes around to land or money. Those early years were horrible. Are the natives starting to be taken care of a little bit better? I mean, in my opinion, yes. A lot of the tribes are forming casinos, and they're able to fund schools, hospitals, clinics. I mean, a bunch of stuff on their reservations. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. That's awesome. But let's take a note of that. Okay. Most of the Indian tribes that have casinos do pretty well. Is there possible corruption there? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not that intricate with the tribes, but I do have a couple friends that have enjoyed strip ends from the casino, and they live a good life. They have a different form of welfare because I believe anytime you're given money, it's a form of welfare. So I'm not saying the individuals don't deserve it or don't need it. It's not what I'm saying. Don't read into negative shit. But what it does is it makes them reliant on that check. I've had several friends that are of native descent that have collected these strip ends. And of the two that I know, one done very well, and the other one has just basically living paycheck to paycheck, for lack of a better term. One used it to get himself completely sober, gained a job, started a small business that's in the transportation industry, and is doing quite well. Now owns a home and is living what everyone considers the American dream. He's doing what he loves, and he's not, he can't go out and buy whatever he wants, but in our small world that real people live in, he can pretty much do as he wishes. Now, let's get back to this cancel culture bullcrap. There's a lot of things that people say that I disagree with. There's a lot of influences that people seem to value more. And I'm going to coin a phrase called that Kardashian logic. Because here's the biggest problem I have with the Kardashians. One, your claim to fame is your father or the head of your family represented an accused murderer, ex-football player. It's the first thing the Kardashian name is famous for. Second thing is a daughter's leaked, and I use the word leaked very liberally, porno video. Okay. This is what brought them to the masses. And now, this is what got them their TV show. And it seemed like it started harmless enough. And everybody watched it. The guys watched it and hoping to get a glimpse of that big butt. Or just first season or so was kind of entertaining. But then it got to where it was starting to be kind of stupid. To me, the whole Kardashian series brought fakeness, bitterness, and bickering to the main front, which all of our families have. One of the reasons why I didn't understand why that series got so many watchers or viewers or whatever you want, it just boggled my mind that many people were interested in what my perception is of plasticness. And it's made them a lot of money, and I'm happy for them. It's great. But where I'm going with this is too many people that achieve small amounts of success, or most people call it 5 minutes in the spotlight, First thing they want to do, they want to spit out their causes, their rhetoric, as I like to call it. Okay. Now, you go by the numbers, there's like, I think it's 15 or 20% of the United States population makes over a couple million a year. Okay, 20%. So let's say there's 500 million people. 20% of those are doing that well. Sounds like a very good living. Well, that's great. The average income for the other 80% is like $60,000. That is a far cry from a couple million a year. 60,000 a year. Okay. Big difference. Big difference in lifestyle. Big difference in stress level. So the $60,000 a year is extremely respectable, and you can live a good life. Are you going to have everything you want? Probably not. Not without carrying a absolute mountain full of debt. But will you be able to enjoy life? I think you can it depends on what your interests are. But for the most part, you can enjoy a pretty good life at $60,000 a year. What I disagree with is all these goofballs in Hollywood, these professional liars, because let's not forget what an actor is. A good actor makes you forget who they are. And whatever role they're playing, that's who you believe them to be. You know, Tom Hanks is one of the better actors. You actually believed he was Forrest Gump, or you believed he was that Castaway. It's one of the reasons why his movies are watched so well, is he is a great, great, great pretender. Robin Williams was one who was also a comedic genius. James Belushi. You know, John Candy. I mean, John Candy's movies are absolutely phenomenal. Every time I watch Uncle Buck, I forget that it's John Candy and not Uncle Buck. My point is, these people that I mentioned seem to handle their fame well. They used it to enrich other people's lives. They didn't utilize it to push some bullshit point. I mean, Tom Hanks has done some questionable shit, but still, for the most part, I think he tries to stay out of it. But, okay, if your job and you get paid millions of dollars to pretend to be somebody else, why would I want to hear about some bullshit cause? That one host at the award show, Ricky, I always say his last name wrong. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. The best saying I think ever got said on any awards platform is what Ricky said. You get your reward, you come up here, you do your thank yous, you thank your God, you thank your agent, and then you fuck off. Don't give us a speech about this or that, because you have no room to talk to people in the real world because you don't live in it. It was something like that. And that is the truest statement I've ever heard. What does a pretender that makes millions of dollars, how can he understand your life? He's so far removed from real life that he's paying $100 for a bottle of smart water. It's ludicrous that you would even listen to someone like that, because that's why they're making millions of dollars to pretend to be somebody else, because They're very good at it. So do you think that they are pretending to care about that cause? More than likely, it's a con job for some backdoor funds, and American society falls for it. That's a sad but true reality. You know, everybody forgets that TV shows and movies were an idea. It came from something, somewhere in a period of time. And that's what they are. It's an idea. And then a person or a group of people get together. They have this idea. There may even be a little bit of a script. And people get together and they tweak it and they brainstorm, and they usually make a wonderful script that usually turns into a movie that turns into awards. So if you think about things like TV shows like Mad Men, it's all about the ad agency, okay, in its heyday. Well, it was only its heyday back then because if you followed that show, it starts out as a male dominated industry that slowly turns in, slowly shows you that females were pulling strings in the background to make things happen. What that means is it's a collective group. It takes a team. Very few things are done by a singular individual. A single idea can come from an individual, but it usually takes a team to bring that idea to life. What I'm saying with that is unity. Just because I disagree with some of your political ideas doesn't mean I disagree with you entirely. You know, this whole debate about alternative energy, I think it's a good idea. I think the technology that we have now has came a long way from when solar panels and wind first came out, but I do not think that it is a dependable source in most regions, and that's been proven. Germany had an issue with it. Texas did. I mean, it's an idea that needs to keep bouncing around the think tank until it gets perfected a little bit better. Yeah, let's utilize some of it now. But as far as solar panels go, there's so much unusable space in this world, in every city across this nation. There is parking structures, there is buildings, there is a ton of unusable space. That is where the solar panels should go. We should not have solar panels on farm ground. When a country loses its ability to feed its population, it will become destitute. I don't remember who said that, but that is the truest statement. If you are relying on a foreign entity to feed your population, you have failed as a leader. A country should be able to sustain itself, at least feed itself. If we keep putting solar panels on farm ground, we will lose the ability to produce food for this country. And that's what people aren't thinking about. They're just looking at money. You got to remember, money's the root to all evil. So, this video's gotten long enough. So, in a world of Kardashians, just think about things. Use some common sense. And be kind. Have a good day.